Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time to look at the global stories that has made it to the front pages of our national dailies. And this morning we'll be looking at The Guardian, The Punch, The Nation, and The Daily Trust. So on The Guardian, it leads with costly by-elections worry INEC as IPAC demands credible polls. So of course we've seen, we've seen what's the whole election has been like lately, and even with the by-elections. And of course, INEC is a little bit worried, but I think there's so much they can do. They've invested heavily. We've seen IREB, we've seen other, platforms that have been invested in, and I think it's just having to do the job right, pretty much. Doctors protest unpaid salaries ground Abuja hospitals. That's also, on other papers as well, talking about doctors having to go on strike. In fact, it was one of our top trending stories this morning. On the Daily Trust, it says FCT doctors embark on strike over 7 months unpaid salaries. So 7 months is a long time to be owed, especially in this economy. And we know what it can be, but it's important that the federal government sits down, or the FCT minister sits down with these doctors and see what can be done, because people's lives are at stake here. Another story says 50% tariff hike insufficient, say telcos amid pushback by subscribers. So the telcos are even saying that the 50% we're demanding from you is not even enough. You're complaining that 50% is a whole lot to you, but for us, for our companies to run our companies efficiently, 50% is not even enough. It's insufficient for the tariff hike. Another story says economic crisis spikes malnourishment among 5.4 million kids, UNICEF warns. That's quite sad. And of course, a lot of people can barely afford 3 square meals anymore. So this is something that definitely was going to happen, was bound to happen. Economic crisis spikes malnourishment among 5.4 million kids. Quite sad, quite unfortunate. We definitely need to think of how to whip up our economy so we can have more, especially when it comes to food for our families. Another story says Lagos warns against sharing child pornography, threatens 14 jail term. Yes, I completely agree with that. Child pornography. You cannot be sharing, pornographic images of children. These are minors. They don't even know what's going on with their lives yet. And then you're already subjecting them to such. I think 14 years is even little. So threaten 14-year jail term. So if you're someone that engaged in this, well, you have to desist from it right now, because just in case you're being caught, and I hope you get caught, you will be sent to jail, 14 years imprisonment. Another story says court sentences Abuja bishop to 20 years for rape. You cannot be going about, raping people or raping anybody in the first place. So 20 years for rape, and this is a bishop. You're supposed to be in a place of power. You're supposed to be in a place of power, so how do you do this? Well, the court has sentenced him to 20 years imprisonment for rape. Another story says Tinubu spent 300 billion naira on Abuja satellite towns in 12 months. 300 billion naira. Another story, which was one of our top trending stories, said UCH students protest 82 days of blackout, harsh environment. And the final one on The Guardian is NWC, that's the National Working Committee, insists on Damagom, worries over PDP's future. If we move over to The Nation leads with our plan to restart oil production in Ogoni by Tinubu Fubara. The president promises to immortalize meters, NSA Ribadu to coordinate peace parley. That's it. So of course the people of Ogoni, they're sitting on really good resources, and I think what we need to do is make sure that everybody's in good terms so that we can start the exploration of this oil. So of course our plan to start oil production in Ogoni by Tinubu and Fubara. Another story here says economy on right track. That's according to Bagudu, that the economy is on right track. In fact, Sani says reforms will reset Nigeria. And a lot of reforms have been, put in place, but I don't know if we're on the right track, and I don't know what the plan is. I don't know when we're going to get, to the end that is going to be flourishing for Nigerians, that we're going to see the dividends for all the sacrifices that we've made. So if they're saying the economy is on the right track, I wonder what that is, because the common man in Nigeria doesn't feel the same. That's not their own reality. Whatever needs to be done, they need to start doing it right now for it to get to the right track. For now, we're not so sure. Another story says how tax reform bills will transform the economy. So, of course, I just spoke about the reforms that have been made. One of the things that they've spoken about is the tax reform bills that would transform the economy. I know one thing that was being said, there are lots of changes when it comes to the tax reform bills. One thing that was also being said was the fact that you would only pay as much tax as you earn. So if you're not earning enough, like maybe you're an SME and you're not earning up to the threshold, you would not have to pay as much tax, and you might just even be exempted from it. Anyways, if you move over to the US, it says Trump's executive orders face legal hurdles. No to birthright citizenship. So, President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump, had, said that there will be no more, birthrights for people who are born on U.S. soils but are children of immigrants. And so, even if you go there and you give birth, your child will probably still be a Nigerian, but it is part of the U.S. Constitution. So a lot of people have taken it up, and there are even court orders on this right now, that it is part of the Constitution. It cannot be changed. So it is something that you cannot just come as the president and with an executive order you make a proclamation and say no more birthright citizenship. So we're going to see how that turns out, because I think it's supposed to be starting maybe from February or so, but we'll see how that comes up. Another story says CMD's brain drain worsening health sector challenges. That's on the Nation as well, and it says Jakba UUTH returns 1 billion naira salaries. So brain drain in the health sector worsening. Of course, a lot of people are looking for greener pastures. They're moving abroad. There's something that we had talked about on the show, which was the push and pull factor. Other countries are looking for ways to pull people in, pull all of these resources, the human capital in. But then our country, we're just pushing them away, and we need to try to reverse that, to ensure that we're giving certain benefits, incentives for people to be coming into our country. We cannot be having a situation whereby all of our doctors, all of our nurses, all of our health practitioners are moving away just because the country is not as conducive as they would want it to be. So brain drain worsening in the health sector challenges is something that definitely needs to be looked into. Yeah, so let's move over to the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust leads with 1.4 trillion naira unsold goods recorded in 2024, and that is according to MAN, that's the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. And right up here says Nigeria heading towards hyperinflation, according to experts. So if we thought there was inflation, or we were saying there's hyperinflation, imagine what's going to happen in the next couple of months. In 2024, 1.4 trillion naira unsold goods. In fact, there were so many businesses that had to close shop in 2024. That's how difficult, the year was for a lot of people. That's how difficult the economy was. And imagine this amount, because people do not have the purchasing power anymore. People do not have the spending power to say, I want to buy this, I want this, and I'm going to get it. Not necessarily. A lot of people are prioritizing food, transportation, maybe health. But to say, I want to buy other things, most people don't even eat 3 square meals anymore. And you can see with this 1.4 trillion naira, that's how much business. And imagine for things that probably have expiry dates, they're gone. That's how much businesses, are losing, or they've lost in 2024. So I think we definitely need to find ways to better our economy. That cannot be overemphasized, because what are we doing? What are we doing? All right, another story here says NLC protests telecoms tariff hike threatens mass action. So on one hand, I was just reading from The Guardian, where the the telcos have said that the tariff hike of 50% is insufficient, even though there's a pushback by subscribers. On the other hand, on the Daily Trust, the NLC is protesting against that tariff hike, saying, it's not, they're not thinking of the people. That in fact, it's just diminishing what we have as a nation. And I understand both, and that was something that we also spoke about in our top trending stories this morning. 15 die in Kwara auto crash, very sad. Another one says the Magom can be removed until December. That's obviously the PDP when we talk about political matters. If we move over to the Punch, finally, the Punch leads with Kanu Niger Republic Rail Project. Communities tackle federal government over compensations for 3,252 owners. And the writer here says, project continues despite Niger tension. 5,531 persons dissatisfied with compensation. So this is something that's been ongoing for a while. In fact, even in Lagos, with the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, that's something that was being said as well, that there isn't enough compensation. I know that you're trying to make the roads, but you have to compensate people, give adequate compensation, because these are people that are losing their homes. And sometimes you have an emotional connection to that place, knowing that it's no more. And if I'm not even going to get adequate compensation, then how am I supposed to move forward? How am I supposed to get another place, build another home? So with the communities tackling the federal government over compensations, I understand that whatever you're doing is to develop, our community, because it's a good project and infrastructure that would definitely benefit us. But still, it's important that these people are being compensated adequately. All right, oil exploration, Mossop falls, Tinubu's meeting, monarchs begin consultation. And of course, we just spoke about the Ogoni one as well. APC, LP back INEC on by-elections, dismiss Falana's proposal. That's for political matters. Troops close in on bandit leader Choji, kill commanders, 24 militants. That's security now. And of course, insecurity has been an issue in Nigeria. And knowing that the Nigerian army, the Nigerian police force, all of the security operatives are doing their best, to combat insecurity, it's great. So finally, I'm going to take this one that says again, Anyanwu Ude Okoye clash over PDP secretary's seat. Well, political matters. I'm sure the PDP definitely needs to put their house in order, and we'll see what happens with that. All right, that's it for our for all of the papers this morning. We'll go on a short break. We'll look at the weather. When we return, we're looking at our first hot topic. So please stay with us.